As I said previously, my father was a real piece of work, and my earliest memory of him was a traumatic one. It is one where I floated on a raft in the middle of our family pool with three of my siblings and my dad in the water. I couldn't swim. However, I felt safe enough on the raft, not thinking about anyone messing with my groove. I had no idea that those in the pool had other ideas, especially my father. I had no preconceived notion that my father would swim beneath the raft, and pushing up from beneath it, he pushed the raft up swiftly into the air with me atop of it. I lost my balance and fell into the water. Panic was overwhelming. I was suddenly in a different environment, a watery atmosphere that didn't allow me to breathe. My father was responsible for putting me in this environment where I couldn't breathe, and orientation was gone from me. I felt as betrayed as I felt fear. Being in an environment where I couldn't breathe did not prevent me from trying to do so. I was only 6 years old and really didn't put the equation together. Naturally, I thought that I was going to drown. I didn't know which way was up. Seconds seemed like forever in my watery atmosphere of terror. Eventually, my father realized that I wasn't going to surface without any assistance, so he pulled me up out of the water. He was laughing. My siblings were laughing right along with him. I coughed uncontrollably, and then I burst into tears. My father told me to shut up and stop acting like such a crybaby, and suddenly I was afraid of my father. He had betrayed my trust in him. So now I had no idea where I stood. I continued to cry until my father slapped me upside the head. He told me to stop crying or he would give me something so I stifled my crying. However, the tears still fell freely. Such was the glimpse of my father, who never came to any of my baseball or soccer games. My mother came to a handful of games. So when I was young, life wasn't so wonderful, magical, or beautiful. But there were some days, diametrically so, that in my favor stretched out into months that I did appreciate, days that actually made me feel giddy. My mother had a friend at her job, and she told her about me and my mannerisms, my sensitivities. My mother told her that I was an unusual child. And before I knew it, I was friends with Midge Bostek, my mother's co-worker. She doted on me. She was a very spiritual woman, not religious, but very intuitive. And Midge knew that I was extremely intuitive as well, as I knew when it was my mother and father were going to file for a divorce before I was told. In no time at all, I was going to psychic fairs and impressing and leaving impressions on those who heard me speak, and reading the auras of people, giving tarot readings, and aligning chakras. I made some decent money from charity, more than I made from babysitting, which I usually did twice a week. In no time, Midge's friends became my friends, and occasionally I stayed overnight. Ted Talbot, Linda Drake, and Don Randall were adults that enjoyed my company immensely. And Don also doted on me, buying me comic books now and again, and buying me things related to Star Wars, which was my favorite movie at the time. Don was an engineer, so he made good money wherein he bought state-of-the-art entertainment equipment like stereos that he recorded, high-definition music, and VCRs that he used to record movies like Spider-Man and The Incredible Hulk. Furthermore, he had a massive library of paperbacks that were science fiction and fantasy that I loved to read. He even had the complete collection of Conan the Barbarian that he kept in plastic bags called comic savers. Linda and Ted were like foster parents to me, and I was their son by proxy, deputized as the surrogate son for when they decided to have their own children. I never knew the kind of love and adoration that was given to me. My mother never treated me so kindly. To her, I may as well have been a piece of the furniture. However, Don, Linda, Ted, and Midge treated me like I was someone special, like I was their own son. They let me know what it was like to be truly loved. They listened to me. They expressed genuine interest in my dreams and ambitions, and they encouraged me to pursue them. They showed me what it was like to have loving parents, what it was like to be adored. They showed me parents that I would aspire to be. Those were the days that were irreplaceable. Those were the days that I never wanted to die. Those were the days that I lived for. So naturally, they were days that had to die, and naturally, I would have to move on from them. Those were the days the daymers would rob from me. Those were the days I would have to fight to exhaustion to get back. When I was 11 years of age, I started writing and illustrating my own comic books. Sometimes it was the most enjoyable thing in the world to do. And someday I hope to work for Marvel Comics. My intuition told me that one day comics would light up the silver screen, when technology caught up to the stories that needed CGI to pull them off and make them real. I somehow wanted to be part of that. On the way home from a friend's house one evening, I noticed a gathering of people outside an apartment complex. They were the film crew and actors who were doing an inside shooting of the Amityville Horror. I loved acting, sometimes more than I loved writing and illustrating my own comic books. I had been in all the plays at school, and I saw Star Wars 27 times without a VCR and could recite the movie verbatim. I sensed what was going on in the apartment complex, and if I could, I wanted to somehow be part of it. So I singled out the one that seemed the most important on the site, and I walked up to the man, and thinking nothing of it, I said, "Excuse me, sir, my name is Timothy Goodwin, and I want to know how to become an actor." "Oh, you do you?" he replied. "Yes, sir, I do," I said excitedly. "I've been in all the school plays, and I've seen Star Wars 27 times. Wow, that is a lot. Are you planning on being Luke Skywalker when you grow up?" "No," I said, smiling. "I know he is fictional. I know that Mark Hamill is just an actor. I saw him in Corvette Summer, but I would love to act in a movie like Star Wars." "Well, let me see what I can do for you." The man took out one of his cards and gave it to me. "My name and number on the card. Have your folks give me a call, and we will see about getting you set up for a screen test." Woohoo! I thought, I'm going to be an actor. I ran the rest of the way home with wings on my feet. I burst through the front door yelling, "Mom, Mom, you'll never believe what happened." She was lying on the couch with a glass of vodka, smoking Salem's. "I'm sure you're going to tell me," she said emotionlessly. "I'm going to be an actor," I said enthusiastically. "A man gave me his card." I moved forward to put the man's card on the coffee table. "He must have been a director or film producer or something, because he told me to give you his card so you could call him and set up a screen test." "I wouldn't worry too much about that," my mother said, again with a little emotion. "Why not?" I said confusedly. My bubble since running from the apartment complex had steadily been growing. Now it came to a halt. "Because we're moving," she said. "Whoa, uh, where?" I stammered. "We're moving to Alaska." A month before my sister, mother, and I were scheduled to move to Alaska, I heard the news that my best friend killed himself, putting a bullet to the brain pan from his father's service revolver. I didn't weep. A month prior, my friend had told me he was going to do it. I didn't believe him. I thought he was just talking big. The girls at school told me that if I needed a shoulder to cry on, they would lend me theirs. I didn't cry on a shoulder. Instead, I kept it all inside. My mother, sister, and I moved to Alaska. 3 years later, my mother would kick me out of the house. From that moment on, things would snowball downhill.